Hello and welcome back. In our last lecture, we saw how we can know if a path is absolute or not, and we saw how we can get the absolute path of a file name. Okay, let's look at some more functions in the OS module. Okay, let me change my working directory to users / Sami Shumiye. Okay, now let's look at another function called relative paths. So os.paths relative paths, rel path. So this function is found in the paths module in the OS module. Okay, so this takes in two strings and gives you the relative paths. Let me show you an example. So if I pass users / Sami Shumiye desktop, let's say picture2.png, and I have another string users Sami Shumiye. So this is my current working directory, right? Users Sami Shumiye, and I have this file in this directory. So using this function, it will tell me the relative path of this file relative to my current working directory, which is this. So I get desktop picture2.png. You see the relative path? Since I'm in this my current working directory is this, relative to where my picture is saved, right? This is where it's saved. So relative to my current working directory, this file is found in desktop /pic2. Okay, let's move on. There's another method called directory name, dir name, and this is used to get the directory part of my file path. So if I pass, let's say, let me pass this whole thing. Copy and paste it. So this function will give me just the directory part. So if I run it, I get users, Sami Shumiye, and then desktop. Only the folders, right? That's what this will give me. dir name. Okay, and there's, in order to get the file part name, right, I use a function known as base name. This will pull off the part after the final slash. So let me show you an example. os.paths.base name, and then I pass the whole thing. So this will give me the part only after the last backward or forward slash, depending on whether you are using Mac or Linux or Windows. So I get only pic2.png. So that's the difference between base name and dir name. dir name gives you the folders or directories, whereas the base name gives you the file name or the part after the last slash. Remember, this base name does not always give you the file name part. It gives you the part after the last slash. So if I were to change this to, let's say that, it will give me the desktop folder. I will just get desktop. Good. Okay, let's look at some more functions. There's a function called os.parse.exists. This will return true if the file exists. Otherwise, it will give me false. Okay, for instance, if I copy paste that and then run it, I get false. That's because I made up this .png file. It doesn't exist. If I go to users, Sami Shumiye desktop folder, this doesn't exist. I just made it up. So it only returns true if this exists. Let's look at another example. .parse.exists. I think I have a file called workbook1.xlsx file. Let's see if that's true. So I get true. Since this exists, I get true. Okay. There's another method called isDirectory, and this returns true only if we pass a file path instead of a file name. Okay. So instead of is file, that it accepts is dir and pass it the same string. So this is a directory. This returns false. Whereas if I just pass this desktop part, I get true. That's because this is a directory, right? This is a directory. Good. There's another function called getSize, and this returns the file size in bytes. So getSize, that's the function name. getSize, and run it. I get an error. That's because this file doesn't exist in this directory. Let me show you an example with a valid file. Okay, os.parse.getSize, and then passing our workbook1.xlsx. So the size of this file is about 27,500 bytes. Good. And another function I want to show you is the list directory. os.list directory. This returns a list of strings of file names. So if I pass Command V and just desktop, run it. So I got the following. The list directory function returns a list of strings of file names. So if I go to users, then Sami Shumiye, then desktop, I have the following files and folders, right? So I have note, localized, example1.png, example2.png, the recordings folder, summary.png file, and so on. So this lists all the file names as strings. Okay? Good. So in summary, we saw what file names and file paths are. In Windows, the root folder is C:, whereas in Mac, the root folder is just a /, right? Just a / versus C:// And then we have file extensions. We saw that we can use the join method to join different folders and file paths, and we use that by importing the OS module, which contains a lot of functions related to files. We saw how we could get our current working directory using the get cwd function found inside the OS module, and we also saw how we could change our current working directory to a different directory. Then we saw absolute paths and relative paths. We also saw different methods, different functions to see if a path is absolute or relative, if it exists or not, if it's a file or directory name, and so on. So this is a general introduction about files and file paths. I hope you have a good understanding of files in general. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.